We hopped on a call for like 15 minutes, and basically there's only one question that I still remember to this day, which is I asked him, if I want to become a founder eventually, is it better to have done it first myself, or if I do a startup myself?
I got about 100 reasons to leave the party, but I will not. Got a lot of meaning to get to you when I'm in a spot. Thought about what's the season, oh yeah, summer feeling so hot. I could burn in my slumber, turn the lights off and let the beat drop.
344 days ago, I quit my consulting job to build startups solo. Today, actually this week, I've just joined a new startup. And today I want to break it down to you in terms of why I've decided to join a startup, how I decided to join this particular startup that I'm joining, my vision for the future, as well as just sort of like things I learned in the last almost like 11 months on building things solo, on not having a job, on like just quitting everything and trying to chase this dream that I had. Yeah, okay, that's a little spoiler. I still have this dream. It's just taking a different form, and I'm on like a different roadmap, if that makes sense. But before we dive right in, here's a quick 30 seconds intro of who I am in case you're new here. My name is Jason. I went to law school, started my career in consulting, didn't really like the corporate route. So last year I decided to quit it all to learn AI, learn coding, to build startups basically. And I basically documented everything on this channel. If you scroll down long enough, there's a series of startup diaries where I document what exact startups I'm building that week or that month. It's all like super raw, just in detail. So if you're interested in like how I transitioned from having a high paying prestigious consulting job to like making no money at all and just trying to build stuff, then go check it out. Firstly, let's go back to 2023 Christmas. After starting my consulting job for 8 months and fully hitting the ground running, I finally had a month off where I went home to Hong Kong, where I can actually gain some perspective and reflect on whether I like the job or not. And to my surprise, actually not that much, I really didn't like consulting. So I was in this space where I'm like hating it, wanting to do something else. And at the same time, I was seeing what people were doing with like AI. People were coding apps with AI, people that does not have any like technical background whatsoever, just like coding. And to me, that's like kind of crazy because I've always wanted to build something. I always thought it would be pretty cool to like build an app or something and be like a founder, be an entrepreneur, but I was never technical. I tried learning Python during COVID, but it just never really worked out. I just didn't really like it. So with this newfound ability to like code with AI, I was just kind of obsessed. I was thinking of like whether I should quit to do this startup thing full time, but it's still really scary, right? I've never done it before. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I can pull it off. There's just like a bunch of uncertainty around the topic. But I basically figured out 2 ways to mitigate all the risk to make it a decision that is such a no-brainer, where the upside is basically unlimited, crazy exponential upside, and the downside is virtually nothing. The way I did it was firstly through this thing called the fear setting exercise. So there's different forms of it, different people talked about it. First guy being Tim Ferris in his book 4 Hour Work Week, which I read when I was like 18. Basically, if you think about it, every time you make a decision that feels kind of scary, the biggest hurdle to the decision is usually not the potential benefit they can get. So for me, it wasn't knowing that I can be building startups. The biggest hurdle was the uncertainty and the downside. What if it doesn't work out? What if I embarrass myself? What if this is like really risky? And the fear setting exercise basically makes you go in and look at the situation from the ground up. Look at it, make it as clear as possible what exactly you're scared about and what the worst case scenario is. It sounded really scary, right? Like, oh, worst case scenario, like, oh, well, like, am I gonna die or something? But usually that's not the case. And for me, the worst case scenario was going back into consulting, which after articulating it out like that, isn't actually that scary. So that's the first framework I used, the fear setting exercise, knowing that the worst case isn't really that bad. And secondly, there's this 2-door framework by Jeff Bezos that I also use that also really helped me quit my job. Most decisions in life are either one-way door or two-way doors. Two-way doors are decisions that you can make. So like go in, have a look, play around. If you start a thing, if you don't like it, you can come back out, pick again. One-way door are decisions that once you committed to it, you can never go back. So for example, this is really random, but like if you cut off your arms, then you can't really have your arm again, if that makes sense. First is two-way door decisions. For example, if LeBron James doesn't like Lakers anymore, he can go to a different club and then he can come back to Lakers. That kind of stuff, two-way doors. And essentially quitting my consulting job was a two-way door decision. It's not like once I quit my consulting job, I can never go back into corporate. I very much can, and a lot of people do that. So knowing that what I'm about to try is probably a two-way door where I can try it out. If I don't like it, I can come back. Also make it a lot less stressful. But still, even with those knowledge, being able to like quit my job to do startup full-time is still pretty crazy, right? Like surely I could have joined a startup first and try to learn on the job. And that brings us to our second story in terms of why I decided to do my own startup before joining one. I remember it was like a Tuesday. I was in the office. I saw like this founder's LinkedIn post. And he basically does this startup that matches startups with people that they want to employ. So like candidates, they basically help startups hire people. I reached out to him. He had a pretty similar background. He also worked in consulting. And I reached out to him, cold DM'd him, asked him to like hop on a call with me because we're from like pretty similar background. And also I know that in his eyes, I'm also a potential client for his startup. So like I'm a pretty good candidate for startups that want to hire. He replied, we hopped on a call for like 15 minutes. And basically there's only one question that I still remember to this day, which is I asked him if I want to become a founder eventually, if I want to work in the space, either as a founder or as someone under a startup, is it better to have done it first myself? Or if I do a startup myself and it failed, how would it look for the startups? So he said he's seen it both ways, right? He's seen people who left corporate to join a startup and then eventually started their own thing. He's also seen people who basically tried doing their startup first and then decided to go into a startup. So when I heard this in my mind, I was basically thinking, right, I can try it on my own first. If it worked out, then like the return will be crazy. This will literally change the rest of the trajectory of my life. But if it doesn't work, I can literally just go find a startup job, which was what I was going to do anyway. And at that point, the decision become like pretty easy to make because I know that by quitting my job to try build my own startup, if nothing ever works out, I can go back into consulting or go back into corporate. Or B, if I realize I like startup, but for some reason I don't want to continue building, I can just go join someone else's startup. And on top of these mitigation of risk, the upside is crazy. I'll be building crazy stuff, super exciting. And also I have like super cool stories to tell people in the next like 20, 30 years. So that's basically why I decided to quit to do a startup in the first place.
I'm the meanest rapper, meaning I feed on rappers a lot. I'm obscene, I need not encouragement, this the courage I got a buzz going, so people heard of me, then I pop. Kinda was going, how you gonna tell me I gotta stop? Start another trend, and if you wanna get in on the ground floor, then what you holding up the wall, standing around for? Call up my people and I know what they down for. We can stay up all night long, land home around 4.
I've always wanted a WeWork pass and now we finally have it. But yeah, you're gonna see me go around work in different London WeWorks in the future. I've always wanted to do that, like work in a WeWork, go around and like work remote, but also like not remote because I'm in the office. Anyway, we were saying why I've decided to stop building and then join someone's startup. So I think we have to go back to when I was building CaseFast. When I was building CaseFast, it was the last July, August. I've had 2-3 projects under my belt right now. Everyone is better than the last. And if you go to casefast.club right now, you can still see CaseFast is still live and good and well. And it looks pretty impressive. People always compliment me when they see a website. But deep down, I just started hating the act of coding. I kept procrastinating. And I realized even though AI can do most of my coding for me, I still have to be the person that's in there asking the AI to debug for me. I still have to like look at the code base. I still have to do a little bit of coding. And I just really didn't like it. And at the same time, I was starting to think, okay, so if I don't want to be coding, then what does that leave me? And I realized there is one part of this whole like startup building journey that I just really enjoy. It's not the coding part. It's not the building part. It's actually the documenting part where I'm documenting everything I learn along the way, sharing with people. And I think I have a natural touch in terms of doing that, at least compared to my technical stuff. And I also sort of enjoy it a lot more. And I think that's what you need, right? You need something that you really enjoy that you can do in the long term. So I started thinking, is there a way for me to not code and then still work in sort of like go-to-market growth, which is what I'm doing right now? I could go find a co-founder and then have someone build and then I be the person that does all the sales, go-to-market partnership. But there's, again, a few reasons why I didn't want to do that. Firstly, finding a co-founder is such an important thing. You don't want to rush it. You want to work with someone that you can work with in the long run, not just someone that looks impressive, sounds impressive after you met them at a 30-minute coffee chat. And the second reason is that I just wanted to break from the crazy responsibility of being a founder. Being a founder means everything falls on you. If you make any money, it's all yours. If you lose any money, it's also all you, right? And I was just a bit exhausted from that situation. And the third reason is just that I'm not sure what business model I want to work on. SaaS is pretty cool, like building software, building apps is pretty cool. But and there are all other stuff that I want to try that I haven't really tried. For example, building an agency, for example, doubling down on content and just be like a content creator. I think those are all avenues that I can potentially dabble with. But I've only tried SaaS. I've only tried building software, and I realized I don't really like it. And so in this period of being lost, of being a bit like confused about what I want to do, I started thinking about whether I should actually join a startup. And actually, I ended up doing it because of a few reasons, right? So there's this concept of an apprenticeship, right? And this is from, I don't even know where to attribute it. There's so many sources that talks about it. But for example, in Robert Greene's book, Mastery, he talks about the ideal apprenticeship. So think about Neymar under Messi, right? Kobe under Jordan, or if you're into like investing, Warren Buffett under Benjamin Graham. These are all great examples of someone who found a mentor to learn from, and they are basically the apprentice. They learn everything from their mentor. They learn everything from their mentor. And although yes, I can do it on my own, I can learn everything on my own. Fast track to sort of like getting where I want to be is actually to directly learn and work under someone that has been there and done that, right? And a lot of mentorship doesn't work because it is one way. Like you're asking a mentor what you want, you're asking for like any like questions you have, you're asking them for favors. Put it more plainly, a mentorship works when the other person benefits from your growth. And the most straightforward way of doing that is by working under someone, which is why I set out my goal to find someone that's been there, done that, doing what I want to be doing in the future, and just work under him. That's essentially what I ended up doing, right? Like at my current startup, the founder is someone super cool. First of all, one of my best friends used to work for him in New York, and he told me he's one of the best boss he's ever had. And that to me is really important, right? Working under someone that actually wants to mentor you instead of someone that, you know, like might be really impressive, but they're like too busy doing their own thing. Secondly, this guy has like 4 exits under his belt. So that's like really impressive. 4 exit means like he sold his startup, or like he helped someone sold their startup 4 times. And that is really cool. If I can do that, that would be like amazing, right? This guy also started his career in marketing, which is kind of the skill that I want to double down right now, you know, like I was saying, content marketing, growth. So I think it's basically a perfect fit of what I'm looking for right now. Also, I can't decide if I look better with or without the glasses. Like, I'm usually wearing contact lenses, but today I felt like, why not wear the glasses? Anyway, some of you might be asking like, okay, cool. So what does your startup do? What's your actual role? Like, what do you do on a day-to-day basis? I'm not sure how much I want to say about a startup, so I'm actually not going to share too much about it right now. But basically, it's in the FinTech sector. It's a small team of like maybe around 10 people, less than that. It's almost fully remote. So the founder's here in London. I'm working directly with him, but we have team members basically like all around the world, really, in different continents. And I'll be working on growth, and that's everything from partnerships, content, marketing. And I am really, really excited about this role because I think it really aligns much better with what I want to do. It basically helps me learn the skills that I want to be learning. And if you ask me about like my long-term roadmap, I do have one, but it's going to take us another 10-15 minutes to talk about. So maybe that's for next time. If you're still watching, I'm not sure if you're new here or if you came from last year when I was building CaseFast, LifeXP, Matcha. And if you recognize any of the names or all of the names, you're a real OG. And I really appreciate you. Please leave a comment. Please leave a comment on like when you started watching and why you're still here. Like, is this cool? Like, are you learning stuff? I hope you are. But with that being said, that's all from me today, and I'll see you next week. Peace.